This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Joanna Ingram, and on today's show, we're going to be diving in to one of the biggest, possibly the biggest frustration that I see with online entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and experts, which is how to write better copy, how to create content that really connects and resonates with the clients they most want to work with. And my work in messaging, I feel, is almost like a sister with copywriting. The value of being able to write good copy should never be underestimated. You start with the messaging, you develop your style, your uniqueness, you get a deep understanding of who you work with, all of the specifics about your ideal client, and of course you express yourself. But that has to come out somehow. You have to actually share it. As I'm always saying to my clients, it's no good if you keep it in your Google Drive. You have to get your messaging out, take it for a ride. You have to create content, you have to write copy. And that's why I am so thrilled. My guest today is Sammy Musgrave, who's a seasoned copywriter and marketing maven. She works, like myself, with visionary female coaches like you, the kind who want to make a big difference and a tidy profit without feeling icky about it. She has a methodology that's rooted in connection-first philosophy, which means her clients quickly build trust, become go-to authorities, and see sales skyrocket, all without using the same old pushy tactics that everyone else is using. Today, we're going to talk about what connection-first messaging is, how to make promises that actually convert, how to infuse your copy with your personality, and we also dive into the recent trends in AI and how you can make ChatGPT work better for you. Let's dive in. Sammy, welcome to Goals with Soul.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You and we just align on so many things, marketing. So I'm just I've been looking forward to this conversation for weeks now.
Me too. And I saw it go on the calendar. I was like, no, this is going to be a gal that's going to dive into the stuff that not only you and I care about, but nearly everybody I talk to in the online space is into this idea of authenticity, which I know is at the bedrock of what we both do. And everybody wants to write better copy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, copywriters all have different views on it. Everybody's got their own flavor. And I'm just going to dive right in, Sammy, and ask you the question that a few listeners have said to me. When you speak to Sammy, make sure you ask this question. And it was, how do I write better copy?
That's a good one.
Straightforward, right? So we're going to dive into a lot more as we go through. But when you're asked literally, what do I do? Because we all got to write copy, right? It's our business relies on content and copy to such a high degree now. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so there's 2 things. Number 1 is make sure you know your people. Do the research, understand your ideal client, and really make it more you oriented. And when I say you, I mean your ideal client versus me oriented. So speak less about you, speak less about your features, and speak more to the outcomes and, the desires and the problems that your person is experiencing. The other one is so simple. I get this all the time. So you know that I do copy clinics and copy coaching. And we have people submit a form to tell me about their offer and their people that they're, speaking to and helping. And then they send me the piece of copy that they want me to review. And the piece of copy is fine, but it's the stuff in the form that is copy gold. So my advice to everyone is stop editing yourself. It's almost like people go into this mode of, I have to write polished and use this jargon, and it makes them it's kind of stiff. Whereas I'm when you talk to me, that is when the gold comes out. So try to just unedit yourself and just start writing like you're answering a question on a form. Or sometimes I'll have my clients actually answer questions and just kind of talk with like a friend or with me about their offer, about their people, and just record themselves and use that as the copy. Like, don't edit it so much. It's so much more natural, conversational, and fun, and like the passion comes through. So those are the two things, like speak to your person and make it more them oriented, and stop putting yourself in the mindset of I'm writing copy. And it's almost like just write a letter to your humans, right? A natural conversational letter.
I love that as well, because it takes away all of this like efforting that we kind of infuse our copywriting with. I mean, it's like, oh, this has to be hard. I'm supposed to do it in a certain way. And I love that you're like, oh, how would you just talk to a friend? It just
take away that pressure and it just flows.
And like you and I were saying, have got some similar views, and both of us have looked around and gone, ooh, there's a lot of icky marketing out there. And similarly, we both worked in corporate, and I've talked a lot on Goals with Soul about my background in advertising and how it's helped me form certain opinions. Can you share? I'd love to hear about how this particular position developed for you. What was the sort of moments that made you realize this is the direction I'm going to go, and it was going to be more soulful?
I would say it was actually back when I was in corporate. So, I spent over 10 years in sales and marketing, and I've always been a student of marketing. Like I love learning. I think, if we're in the coaching space, we're all kind of we can all relate to that. So basically I've been taking all of these marketing courses, and we would have to do these big presentations and do these big sales pitches to land our, next big client. And I had my biggest opportunity near the end of my 10-year corporate career. And I just was looking at what marketing, like corporate head office marketing, was providing us. And the slides were just so, first of all, they were so focused on the company that I was working for versus the people that we were trying to pitch to. And it was so stiff and like just like polished and like all like feature oriented, like we do this and this and this and this, but it had nothing to do with the people we were talking to. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna throw away the playbook and create my own slide deck and create my own presentation. And it was all about the client that we were speaking to. And I made it really personal too, like very human. For example, like our VP would usually be at one of these big presentations, and he was running a marathon. So I like put in like a picture of him, and I was like, sorry, Hugh says hi, but he's like running a marathon right now, can't be here. And just made it really human. And marketing freaked out. They were like, we are going to go to the top of this organization if you try to present this to the client. It's so unprofessional. By the way, there were no penises in this presentation. So like, what's the problem here? But anyways, my direct report was like, nope, we're going with it. We're going to take a risk. And we won the client over. And one of the cool things was that the decision maker, his son was running in the same marathon as Hugh. So like they were able to connect, and like they texted each other and stuff. So that was like the big moment for me. So by the time I discovered that copywriting was a thing, I already was carrying that with me, that like feeling of we just need to be ourselves, and we need to be more them focused than us focused. So that's always been, ever since corporate, that's what's been going on for me. Yeah.
That's a great story. And I love particularly how you call out the fact that you shared something personal about the running of the marathon, and there was a resonance there, and it had nothing to do with whatever you were selling at the time.
No,
whatever that
no, it
deal
was insurance.
Yeah, right. And there was just that moment of connection. And I know you talk about connection first. It's one of the things that I've heard you talk about before.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we create connection like that? It's like, oh, so I should share that I've done a run or eaten porridge. It's like, is it that simple? How do you view it?
I mean, it can be that simple, honestly. I mean, if you look over at, I don't know how many people are on Threads right now. I think you're on Threads, right?
Oh, clinging on by my fingernails, I think.
But if you go through the content there, you can see the people are like rallying for like, just be yourself and like share like random thoughts that you're having. And yes, share what you're eating. Like, let's connect on like a human basis here. And, there's a lot of people right now on there who are saying, come on, guys, read the room. Like, don't talk about your offer. Don't give us these like 3 tips to make $1 million this month. Like, we just want to hear that, like, you almost forgot to like take off your underwear when you went to pee, like those real funny stories that happen day to day. Like, just we want to know who you are. We want to connect on like a deeper basis. And so connection first is really about not selling all of the time. Of course, you need to sell your offer, and it's important to sell your offer because, when you're helping people, selling is helping. But what I think the market has been finding lately is that all the time people are just showing up in their inbox and they're showing up on social media and it's just selling something else. Like, hey, like I was here yesterday selling this and now I'm back in your inbox and I'm selling this other thing now. And so people are just kind of getting over that. And so what you need to do is show up with like thought leadership. So content related to kind of what you're seeing in the marketplace, like generously share your thoughts and thought leadership, your expertise. If you've noticed something that's working in your industry, share that. Or if you've noticed like Meta, for example, they're banning all of the accounts and there's all these like hackers. If you're noticing like, a new trick that a hacker has come up with, you can warn your audience and be like, I almost fell for this, like, beware, just those little things. And I just think being generous with your expertise and just real and unpolished is what people are craving so much right now. It's just a very skeptical market out there right now. 2020, everybody flooded the marketplace. Everybody wanted to be a coach. It was so easy to sell back then. And now, years later, of course, people have been burned by all these like over promises and really lackluster results. So now is the time to connect with them and play that long game because it's taking longer than ever for people to make a decision because they got to get to know you. And, where it might have taken a week before, it's now like 1 to 3 months or like 1 to 2 years of them being in your world. So really connecting with them on that deeper basis is so important right now.
Oh gosh, you talk about so many relevant points. I had to write them down. So I was like, I can't forget this. But I want to go back to one of the first things you said first when you talked about just stop pushing your offers. And it's interesting because oftentimes clients I work with on messaging, when I look at their feed, I just see, oh, I'm selling this. Here's something for $27. And they're making these little Canva pieces that look like a little shop front. It's like selling. And one of the first things that I always do with my clients, go right back to basics about what the clients really desire and dialing in where their passion is and what their opinions and expertise are, because that messaging then forms the basis for all of the content that they produce and the offers, the way they project themselves. But the fact is that when you just push offers, it's like we're all imagining we're the big gurus. And that kind of gets my goat a bit. It makes me a bit cross because a lot of us come into the coaching world being educated by some big business coach guru who can just put out hey, I've got a special this week. It's my birthday. Who wants it? $97. And then, sit back and watch the pings of Thrivecart or whatever they're using. It's like amazing. But the reality is that the majority of people, like you said, they've flooded the market. We've flooded the market in the last few years. I came into the market in 2020. And now, like, you can't do what the big guns were doing and continue to do. There has to be a different way, right?
Absolutely. Like, we're not all Amy Porterfields as much as I wish we were. But even if you look at Amy Porterfield, she's not just coming in with her offers, right? And so you start to kind of feel used whenever, somebody you're following is just like they're just showing up to sell to you. Like you feel like a number. And you said something there about how we kind of like show up feeling like we're gurus, like we're almost like we're above like the people that we help. And so when I talk about connection first, I'm going back to that, but autonomy is a really big one to me. I think we really need to honor the autonomy of our audience, of the people that we like, to our prospects, because oftentimes, with the best of intentions, I've seen coaches who are almost accidentally gaslighting their prospects because they're saying, if you don't buy this, that's a limiting belief, or that's your mindset, or you don't want it enough. Like, if you can't afford this right now, that's on you. And so I think also our content needs to start respecting the autonomy of our prospect, and just like see them as powerful, totally capable decision makers, and trust them a little bit more too.
Yeah. And you said about how the decision-making process is longer now, or maybe longer than we realize it is. And, from my years of advertising, we knew that I was working with multi-million-pound advertisers, was that there was a journey that you had to take your prospective customers on, and they had to see your ad a number of times in a number of different ways on a number of different channels over a period of time before they went down the decision-making process and became a customer. And that's for a pair of shoes, right? Or a or a fizzy drink, or whatever it is that we're selling, or an insurance policy. And yet so many coaches, ourselves to some degree included, our services aren't cheap. You can't just sort of go, oh yeah, I don't need to think about it. They're decisions that should be thought about. You should really know that this is 100% what you know, what you want, what you need, and you're able to sort of see what you're going to get at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a bit about what you see now, that decision making process. And I mean, I've shared a little about how I saw it in advertising, but as a copywriter, how do you take someone along that process? Is there a particular sequence that you think people should go through?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to your point, it used to be, you'd need to interact with the brand like 7 times. You need to like see that brand 7 times before making a buyer decision. Whereas there's some studies coming out these days where it's like 30, 40 and over. But as far as taking people through that decision-making process, to me, it's all about having email sequences, for example, and long-term nurture sequences. Like, I think it's important to take people through your content, like a 12-month nurture email sequence. People are shocked when I say that, but I think that there's so much value in going through an intentional journey via email with your clients, and keep delivering value, and, taking them through the beliefs that you need to shift throughout the whole year, and staying top of mind, knowing that they might need that year to buy from you. I still think there's value in having those short-term sales type of sequences and funnels, because there's still going to be those people who buy same day or within the week, but the majority are going to require 3 months to a year. And so you've got to keep showing up with those email sequences, as well as your content on social media. I think that's where you're going to get like the biggest bang for your buck, is just keep showing up, shifting beliefs. You're going to be repetitive with a lot of your messages, and that's totally okay. So yeah.
Yes, I love that you call out the fact that it's totally okay to be repetitive. It's like, I've been asked too many times. It's like, oh, what else can I write about? I'm like, write about the same, share more of the same. And, again, creating those big advertisers, I was like, they're not ashamed of using the same ad over and over and over. It was called wear out. And eventually you get there, but it's going to take a while. And yet we, as solo creators, content makers, think, oh, well, I've done it once. So therefore I need to turn up with something fresh. Some people believe that every single day they're supposed to have something new and something fresh, which not only is obviously going to be exhausting, but
Yeah.
from a messaging perspective, if you're going to create that many pieces of content, the chances are that you're not honing in on what you really have to say. Say it in different ways, say it in different formats, but pick your lane and really own it, because it's that consistency of message as well as over the period of time that's going to help somebody understand the value of what you will add to,
And
well,
sometimes
whatever
they
they
need to
need,
see
right?
that same message before it finally lands. So yeah, I agree with that so much.
And you talked to me earlier a little bit about profit making as well. And I think there are a lot of people, whilst they want to do better at copy, feel like, well, I don't really understand how to make my copy profit making. And oftentimes just go, I know, I need a call to action on the end. Therefore, that's now a conversion piece of copy. How do you see conversion copy? Is there such a thing? Is it something people should focus on?
I mean, conversion copy, yeah. So you can definitely get like an ROI on your copy. A lot of people avoid the relationship building stuff that I speak about because they're like, well, I don't understand the ROI. But it's long term instead of short term. So you don't always need that call to action at the end of your content. But definitely some people are on the other end of the spectrum where they're scared to add a call to action. And so you can totally add like those PSs and a call to action. But when it comes to conversion copy, you really want to address, like, it's not just popping up like PS, DM me if you want this free guide. It's also having structure there where you're taking them through the problem and the solution, right? And then the call to action. And with the call to action, you can't just tell them what to do. You've got to give them a reason to want to do it. So when it comes to a call to action, you also want to focus on, like, what is the outcome? What's in it for them whenever you ask them to take an action, right? So it can't just be download this free guide now. It's more like download this free guide to feel like 10 out of 10 confident in your next boardroom meeting, something like that.
Yeah, I really like how you put that, because nowadays everything seems to be on offer. It's easy to kind of pick up freebies left, right, and center. And I know I've had conversations with people who are saying, is it even possible to make money? Because isn't everything available for free? And I think the transformation for me there is in having people understand the value of what you offer. And it's no good just to say it's this. They need to understand the benefit and the promise. And that's something I'd love to get your view on as well, which is promises. So often, and I'm sure you come across this too, when you're working with somebody in messaging or in helping them with their content, they get really scared about making big promises. It's like, well, what does your ideal client really want? And well, they want these things. Great. Well, let's write about that. It's like, well, I don't want to promise those things, even though their solution is helping the client move towards those things. It feels kind of scary. It feels like they're taking responsibility and committing to something. They feel icky. And I'm wondering, like, what's your take on the big promises, the big, you'll make 10K in 10 days, or, we see this stuff all the time online.
Yeah, I'm so back and forth with that one, to be honest, because historically the big promises really work. I'm less excited about big promises, and I'm more excited about being tangible. And a lot of people think tangible means you'll get $10,000 per month when you sign up for this course, but it's not. Tangible to me is also like telling them how they're going to feel about their business. And for example, when it comes to mindset work, I work with a lot of coaches who focus on mindset, and they're like, well, my promise isn't going to work because I can't promise they're going to make $10,000 a month. And I'm just like, well, how are they going to feel after they're working with you? Because that's actually pretty darn important. The other thing when it comes to big promises, the whole like make 10K in 10 days, that's been very much overdone. And I don't think it's great for trust building right now. Because a lot of times people will join a program and they'll realize like 1 out of 100 clients actually get that sort of result. So you've got to be honest. If you have a big promise and it's actually true, then go ahead, like use it. But also you're going to need some like actual proof to back that up. And I'm not just saying testimonials. I'm saying like point out that that's a little bit unbelievable, right? Like you're having a conversation with your reader. So, if you're like, make 10K in 10 days, like you can say, oh my gosh, guys, I know that this is like a really big claim and you've seen it all before. I almost didn't use this because I know how unbelievable this is, but 6 out of 10 clients actually get this result. And if that's not true, then maybe we need to dial back a little bit and find a promise that's actually true to your offer. The other thing that I just want to touch on, and this is a little bit controversial, and I know that a lot of people are going to try to veer away from this, but one of the most successful coaches I see in the make money industry is Alan Soltanic. And what he does is he offers like a big promise, but he also offers like not a guarantee. By the way, I love guarantees, but when people join his program, if they want out, there's no contract that locks them in. They can just leave. Like he recommends like stick around for 6 months or 12 months and you'll get these results. But like, if you don't like it, like you can leave. You're not locked in. And I think that is a really powerful way to reverse the risk if you're willing to take that on.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is becoming more and more important in the industry, like trust building. It's been the Wild West for so long, right? And there's been so many people that got burned by joining programs that didn't deliver to their promises or their expectations and haven't been able to get out the contracts and have just been sort of stuck with a mammoth piece of Kajabi education, but
Yes.
no real results. Yeah.
And
That's
so
really
that's why I think guarantees are really important. Like if you are a coach who can deliver on your offer and you also are able to qualify your ideal clients, then guarantees should be a no-brainer. However, there's always going to be that very human component where no matter what you do, if you do everything perfectly, you're still going to get some refunds. It's just something you're going to have to accept. But I think that the benefit is going to definitely it's going to far exceed the cons. Like I think overall you're going to profit off of that, but you will lose some and it's going to be frustrating.
It's playing the long game, isn't it?
It is.
In service to your authentic values. It's be like, you know what, if I'm just going to build trust over time, and then more and more people will feel the energy and the trust in order to join me and clearly going to see the benefits.
Yeah. And once again, you're respecting their autonomy to make the right decisions for themselves. And you're also standing behind your offer.
Yeah. And we're talking about trends. So what we've identified longer customer decision journeys. We've identified an increased need for trust. And obviously here in 2023, I have to ask what your perspective is on AI. It's like the big changeover. And I've seen people, their messaging online, like, you'll never need a copywriter or you'll never need to write copy yourself again. ChatGPT will do it all for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get wise to this. I'm starting to see when copy has been written by ChatGPT. I'm like,
Yes,
that.
same.
And I'm going to full transparency. The reason I know this because I tried to write some copy with ChatGPT. I was like, well, let's give this a go. And got a pile, give me 3 points for social media, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, da-da. And at first, I was really impressed. Actually, I was like,
Yep.
ooh, check this out. And I did. I used it in a post. Off it went. I didn't really get any particular resonance from it, but hardly surprising. But before long, I just reverted. Well, I say before long, one post later, I was like, you know what? I just prefer my own way, my own tone of voice, my own way of expressing things, which is absolutely right. I mean, I teach messaging and it's all about authenticity. But until the time when AI can sound exactly like you, which who knows? That may be a thing one day, but I don't see it yet. Like, how have you found the whole experience?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, honestly. I love AI. I really do. But I see AI, so ChatGPT is what I use. I see ChatGPT as my own junior copywriter or a tool, right? And so I love to use ChatGPT to, get my first draft out, or sometimes to help me edit things when I'm feeling stuck. I've taken like a lot of different courses and I've played a lot with ChatGPT. So the prompts that I feed it are pretty darn good. So I do get pretty darn good content from it. However, it requires editing. It requires discernment. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand your client and the problem that they're dealing with to actually be able to use ChatGPT to help you in your business. And what I am starting to see is a lot of samey content out there where people are relying on ChatGPT to create content and emails and sales pages, but they don't necessarily have that discernment when it comes to, is this actually good copy? Is this a good hook? And you can kind of see that. You can see when it's ChatGPT, like a lot of the times it'll be, are you struggling to sign clients? Good news, like, I've got the thing for you. Like it's very obvious when it's just like you've used a not so great prompt and when you haven't edited it. I don't think ChatGPT has even come close to replacing copywriters in its current iteration. I do think that people perceive that it has and they're using it in that way, and it's hurting them, and it's just creating a lot of fluffy, boring, samey content. However, we all know that this technology is evolving super duper fast. So I can't say what that's going to look like in the future. I have a feeling that the prompts and the input is going to be way less important and it's going to be a lot easier to use. And so for me, while I experienced like, holy crap, am I going to be replaced by AI? I'm now kind of sitting in this place of, I'm really excited to see where my role evolves. Like, what is that going to look like in 5 years? I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be necessary, but like, how is that going to look? I think that's really, really exciting. But yeah, right now, I think that it's a great tool to use if you know how to use it. But a lot of people are, kind of like firing their copywriters. I've heard from colleagues, and then coming back a few months later and being like, please come back, ChatGPT, Jasper, whatever you use, it's not there yet. But if you're using some pretty solid input and prompts, it can get pretty darn close, but you still need a pretty solid copywriter to actually drive it and then edit it.
I am curious, Sammy, like what's a tip that you would give to someone to improve their prompts? Because I guarantee someone's thinking, ooh, what kind of prompt would I use to get something more authentic out of ChatGPT or Jasper? Like what's the key difference between someone that has no clue, someone that gets something at least half decent?
Yeah, so a lot of the times I'll tell ChatGPT that they're a world-class copywriter that specializes in writing emails. I'll tell them what a good email, like the structure of what a good email is, or give them an example of a good email. I'll give them samples of the brand voice, like content that they've put together, and then I'll ask them to write an email. And it's very specific directions, and a prompt can be 1 to 2 pages. And so I laugh when people are like, ChatGPT makes like everything so much faster. And I'm like, right now, sometimes, but I spend a lot of time on those prompts to get actual good output. So if you want to get better at prompts, you need to take, I would say, a course. Because if I were to kind of like go through how to make your prompt better, we would be, on here for like 10 hours.
No, you made your point. You made your point. It's like you have to actually give it a lot of information in order to get something out that's going to really meet your requirements. And I think that's where most of us don't. We'll just say, hey, can you just write me an email? Here's the 3
and then it's
I'd
the
like
worst ever.
But, we can laugh at ChatGPT's shortcomings. But some of the things I found that have helped me immensely, like I use it for ideas generation. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's like Google on steroids. Yesterday, I presented Stand Out with Personal Branding. It's my talk that I give to corporate women. And I went into a beautiful office in central London full of media and advertising women and talked to them about standing out. And when I was creating that talk, I really wanted particular quotes and I wanted some examples. And I just asked ChatGPT and it was like, oh, here's 5. And I was like, can I have 5 more? And they got to be women and they got to be, and it's like, whoosh. I was like, well, that just saved me a whole load of time. It wasn't writing my content, but it was like having an assistant going, could you go and find 5 women who've done this or 5 women who think that? And then I can pick and choose out of them. I thought it was really,
and that's
really
a good
impressive.
point. Because when ChatGPT gives you something, it's totally okay to be like, yeah, you're almost there, but actually I want this to be tailored to like women. Or, sometimes they'll be like, okay, ChatGPT, this is good, but this is really poetic and it doesn't sound like how a typical person would talk. Can you rewrite it like an actual human? So like, give ChatGPT directions the way you would give directions to like an employee, right?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think I haven't talked about AI on the show before. So I'm glad we've kind of cracked that one open because it's becoming something that's talked about more and more and more. And it feels like as people are getting more specialist at it, it's the like, I'm in and I'm out. So many people are just turning their back on it at the moment, just like, you know what, I'm just going to carry on as I've always done and stay authentic. And then others are getting deep into that. And like you said, it remains to be seen how it all nets out in our industry in the next couple of years. But
yeah, I feel like, if
it's
you're
not
on a
going away.
horse,
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry. I feel like it's like, if you're still like in the days of like horse and wagon, like right now we're trying to predict how Uber is going to impact taxi drivers. Like we don't know. It's changing so quickly. It's just so hard to predict right now, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Look, if somebody's listening there, they write their own copy or they're thinking of hiring a copywriter or they want to get better at content, what would you say is a piece of inspired action, which I always love to share on the show, that they can do today, this week, that's just going to help get them closer to, well, in our industry, signing clients, to connecting with their clients, building trust, all the things that you shared today, Sammy?
Yeah, so the big thing is something my once mentor taught me, and it's called a fearless fast write. That comes from Marcella Allison. And what you do is you think of something you want to write about, and then you just sit down and you start writing. And you're not allowed to stop writing. Like set the timer for 5 minutes. And if you can't think of something to write, you can keep writing, Sammy, this is stupid, over and over and over again. If you do that for 5 minutes every day, that is going to help you overcome the number one thing that's standing in your way right now, which is writer's block. It's just going to be like going to the gym for your brain to exercise your copywriting muscle. And it is game changing. Once you start doing that on a daily basis, you will be shocked at how much of like a gold mine of copy will start to flow out of you when you do this exercise.
I'm going to give that a go. Thank you, Sammy. And look, you've been a personal copywriting advisor to me, and I know how immensely talented you are. If people want to find you online, where's the best place for that?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, sammycopy.ca. So that's www.sammycopy.ca because I'm Canadian. Or
I
you can
always just
find
think
me.
California. That's so limiting, right?
I mean,
what
I wish it
happens.
was California. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, which is kind of the opposite of California weather-wise. Or you can find me on Instagram at Sammy Copy.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing all of the thoughts and inspiration you have around copy. And it's been lovely having you on the show, Sammy. Thank you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure, and I can't wait to catch up again soon.
My thanks again to Sammy for sharing so much value in this episode. I hope that you've taken away some amazing tips to help you create copy that truly connects with your ideal clients. And if you've enjoyed this episode, whether it's your first time here with us on Goals with Soul or whether you're a regular listener, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. Reviews have a phenomenal impact to help others find podcasts that they most enjoy and get the best value from. So if you're loving this, please do share it so others can find it too. And so, have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.